Hey everybody, it's Lindsey Baker with the Action Hour, and tonight my amazing guest is David Coman Hidy.
Hi, Lindsay. Thanks for having me.
Heidi, I'm sorry, your name is David Coman Hidy, not Hidy. I don't know.
That's
I
right.
knew that was wrong, and that's why I said it.
Sorry, you're not the first.
We are so happy to have you here, and you have some breaking news tonight. You're launching a new campaign. You want to talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been waging a campaign against Tyson Foods. I'm sure many of our viewers have heard about this company. It's the largest American meat producer, and they may have seen them showing up on the front page of the New York Times and other major media outlets over the last few months, largely for their mistreatment of workers, mistreatment of animals in supply chain, major backup of the meat supply in the US because of problems with COVID. And now in the last few weeks, we've seen dozens of workers who've died because of the lack of protections that they've been provided, and because of essentially the complete and utter focus on profit above all else that's happened at Tyson over the last decades.
Yeah, let's look at a clip about Wow, so a lot of media coverage on this.
Yeah, and it's not just Tyson. There's been now ProPublica reported, it was about 10 days ago now, that over 24,000 coronavirus cases have been tied specifically to meatpacking plants across the country. And of course, that's far less probably than what the actual number is. And at that point, as of 10 days ago, 87 workers had died, more than 25 of them working for Tyson. Yeah, these major meat companies, Tyson and the rest, they have to listen to what the workers are asking for. They have to provide safer working conditions. They need to slow production line speeds. And of course, and this is what the Humane League has been campaigning on for some time with a number of animal groups, as they must also adopt some meaningful reforms that are going to improve the lives of chicken and their supply chain as well.
Yes, let's look at another clip here.
They hoped it wouldn't come to this. Workers at the Tyson chicken plant in Shelbyville hid their faces under blankets because they could no longer hide their fear.
I'm going in there putting my life on the line just to make sure they get this chicken out.
If you care about human rights or animal welfare or protecting the environment and public health, you need to have your eye on the largest American meat company. You've likely heard of the name Tyson Foods, or maybe you're familiar with their brands like Sara Lee, Hillshire Farm, and Ballpark. But what you may not know is that Tyson Foods has a dirty secret. It goes to extreme lengths just to protect its profits, all while millions of animals, their workers, and the environment suffers as a result.
Wow, we do want to invite Tyson on at any time. We invite Tyson Foods on at any time to Jane Unchained to talk about their side of the story. So, David, what we were seeing there now, was that footage? Where's that footage from that we just saw there?
That footage is from a Tyson processing plant, I believe, and that's one of the major hotspots for coronavirus in the country are these processing plants, Tyson and otherwise. Right. It's not just these coronavirus scandals, this dirty secret mentioned in the video that have been in the news recently. Since that video has come out, there's been another major scandal reported on in the chicken industry around price fixing that Tyson is now working with the federal government. They've come and kind of confessed their role in this conspiracy, and they're helping an investigation of a lot of the other major chicken producers in this country. And then today, Cory Booker and Elizabeth Warren
Yes.
have both called for an investigation of the major meat producers because of how they've been playing the system, essentially. So everywhere you turn, every time you see these companies mentioned in the media, it's because of some horrific scandal, some abuse of workers, some abuse of animals. It's hard to think of an industry that is more focused on this just rapacious, destructive greed.
Yes. And it's interesting. Why do you think it's coming out in the media so much? Why do you think so much media attention has been brought to it? Because this has been going on. Like you say, it's not just Tyson. It's actually the same activities across the board has been reported, right? So from what we know, it's going on other places as well. But why do you think suddenly the media is talking, the mainstream media is talking about it so much now?
Well, yeah, I think the greed and the cruelty of these major meat producers to folks like us who've been involved in animal advocacy or environmental advocacy for some time, it's no surprise, right? But the reality is, it just hasn't been much of a major media story in the past. And I think the thing that's changed, and maybe this is just stating the obvious, is coronavirus, of course.
Right.
And the fact that in some states, like the central hub of this disease spread, are major meat packing facilities. And because the consolidation of this industry has been so intensive, one facility can really, I mean, listen, when these executives decide that they're not going to take serious measures to protect their workers, that's going to impact the thousands of workers in one plant. But then all those people are going to go home to their communities. And we're talking about a base of workers, and the ProPublica investigation on this has been incredible. So I recommend that people check that out at ProPublica.org. But these are communities of workers.
Sorry, say that again. I'm going to just jot it down.
Sure.
And I'll put it up.
ProPublica.org is the
ProPublica.
Yeah, it's the group that they're an investigative journalism nonprofit. And they've done incredible work covering the coronavirus. And in particular, they've done two excellent stories on the danger that workers have been put in and the way that the government has protected the meat industry. And then more recently, they had an excellent investigative piece that went into details of internal communications and communications between, I mean, they have, just as one example of the kind of attitude these companies have taken, there's a piece in this ProPublica article that captures an email from the chief executive at Smithfield. And he's emailing the governor of the state that has this meatpacking facility in it. It's in Nebraska, I believe. So that's Governor Ricketts, right? And he's saying to him, basically, and you can read the text of the email, that...
Where's the email available in case people want to see it?
It's at ProPublica.org.
So all of this information is available to the public at ProPublica.org.
Yeah, that's right. So what the executive from Smithfield says to the governor of Nebraska, Pete Ricketts, is he's saying that he's really concerned that all these stay-at-home orders are kind of hysterical. They're causing this overreaction. This is the result of government forcing social distancing on people. And then he has this incredible quote. And this is someone who's overseeing a company that has huge numbers of very vulnerable members of society sick with coronavirus, some of which have literally died. So this is the CEO of a company who has had employees who dies. And he says, and this is an exact quote, "Social distancing is a nicety that makes sense only for people with laptops." Absolutely incredible. I mean, it's I suppose not surprising, but it's like they're saying the quiet part out loud, right? They're literally saying, for us, cheap meat it's completely acceptable. It's completely worth it to put the lives of our workers on the line, to put our communities that we run these facilities in at risk. And of course, you and I are very familiar with the extreme cruelty that's happening to the animals in their supply chain as well.
Let's watch a couple more
clips. In the past few weeks, Tyson has been destroyed in the media as COVID-19 spread like wildfire through its slaughter plants. As of May 12th, over 4,500 Tyson employees have tested positive for the virus, and tragically 18 have died. The fact that so many of the nation's COVID-19 hotspots are centered around meatpacking plants like Tyson's isn't a coincidence. Tyson and other companies refused to protect workers. They denied workers proper gear, and super fast line speeds, which they refused to lower, prevent workers from keeping a safe distance from one another. Employees have rallied together and spoken out. And thanks to these courageous workers, some changes have been made, but it's still not been enough. This kind of treatment might seem shocking, but it's exactly in line with how Tyson views its workers: disposable and replaceable. Tyson's slaughterhouses are some of the most dangerous workplaces in the country. Employees are routinely injured on site, and some accidents are fatal.
So again, I just want to reiterate that we invite Smithfield Farms, Tyson, any other so-called food packing companies, food processing companies, meat processing companies on Jane Unchained at any time. That is just incredible information. And do you want to address that clip that we just looked at there?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just underscores some of what we were talking about before, that, you know, whether it's the treatment of the animals, the treatment of the environment, the treatment of the workers, these companies represent essentially the worst instincts in business, in our society. And they've been able to operate essentially unregulated, right? It's just shocking to people who find out about this information. I've talked to a lot of journalists over the last few weeks. You know, these are educated people who read the news every day, and they just cannot believe the lack of regulation, the lack of business ethics and morality that exists within the meat industry that has just been going on for far too long. So as you mentioned, it's for the first time, really, this issue has come to the forefront. And that's why, for the first time, we're actually demanding reforms directly from companies like Tyson and Smithfield. I mean, the strategy for so long until now for organizations like the Humane League and the groups like us in the animal movement, you know, we've always targeted companies like McDonald's, right? Or supermarket chains or dining service providers. So these are companies that purchase meat or eggs or other animal products from the producers. And they're, for obvious reasons, much more vulnerable to a public campaign, right? Because they have brands that are really well known, they're vulnerable to competition, they have storefronts we can go out and protest in front of and so forth. But COVID has turned everything on its head. So now we're able to, on one hand, go after for the first time these major producers because they're vulnerable, they're receiving bad coverage. We've had to put a pause on those other campaigns because right now it'd be a very bad time to go after a hotel chain, a restaurant chain, that kind of thing.
Yes, agreed. Now, Julia Tompkins is on. And Julia, please add any links that you would like to have on here. That would be so helpful. And I appreciate that you actually put on the petition to sign the petition. You have that link up, and then the mainly you've got the ProPublica.org articles. So everybody can go and check for themselves. Whatever is being said here is totally documented and available to the public to read for themselves. And that's very helpful. Let's watch another clip here. This is about the workers. Let's check that out.
The farmers that raise birds for Tyson are hardly in better shape. They're called contract growers, and they're a part of a tournament system competing with each other to raise the biggest birds for Tyson. The moment your productivity declines, which is usually outside of your control, Tyson slashes your profits. Many of Tyson's farmers are hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt because of this system that Tyson has put them in.
So yes, I think it's important to state that, you know, we animal rights activists, we don't want to see people lose their jobs. We don't want to see farmers lose their homes. We care about everyone. And the situation they're in, it's like they are in a trap situation where they have no choices, and it doesn't seem like it's working for them either. Do you want to address that, David, please?
Yeah, I think, you know, like, again, the animals, like the workers in the system, the farmers who are essentially, you know, they don't own these chickens, right, so to speak. They are essentially caring for Tyson chickens for a short period of time, or any of these companies. They have to pay for any losses. They're often in a great amount of debt that doesn't leave them with many choices. And not only is this just an incredibly unethical and cruel way to run a major business and industry, it also just highlights the hypocrisy of these companies like Tyson, who will, of course, stand behind this image of, you know, we're farmers, we're part of the heartland, we're a solid American business. And when most consumers think about this, they think about like what they see on the packaging, right? Like they think about old McDonald's farm. They probably have a very different image of what it's like to raise animals in the Tyson system than what it's actually like for those farmers.
Is this a free range, considered free range, what chickens would be in a free range situation, or what is this picture representing?
That looks just like a broiler farm to me, although it's not exactly clear if they have outdoor access or not, but that doesn't look, it looks like it could just be kind of a standard chicken farm in the US.
Okay, great. Yeah. We have a couple more clips. Let me play this last one here on
The pandemic has shown us just how fragile and broken our food system is, but we shouldn't lose sight of the companies that got us here in the first place. Please join the fight against Tyson Foods and help us demand that they change for the better. There's never been a more critical time to hold them accountable.
For these workers, their worries are the most basic of all, for their safety and the safety of the families they come home to.
That's not what we're going to talk about. But speaking of the workers, this lady, the lady in the middle here, is a grandmother, and was recently died from COVID. Is that not right? Are you familiar with this?
Yeah, sure. I recognize that New York Times article about a meatpacking worker who died.
Yeah.
Annie Grant, I believe is her name.
Yes, yes. And we have some stats here. Maybe we should show those now for people to see themselves. I showed this one earlier. Do you want to talk about that for a moment? And that's at propublica.org, correct?
This is a website called investigatemidwest.org, I believe, that has stats. And ProPublica has some very in-depth investigative journalism on this topic as well. But it's been covered. I mean, the negative coverage on this topic was so great that it prompted Tyson Foods to take out a full-page ad in the New York Times, claiming that the food system was broken. But of course, their concerns are, as ever, about their reputation, about their profits. So they did some relatively meager steps to provide PPE, safety equipment for some of their employees. They had to alter their sick leave policy for a time so that they weren't seen as overly penalizing workers who were ill or who took time off out of fear of coming in and getting sick. But that has already been reversed. So clearly was only put in place for optics. I mean, we're talking about multi-billion-dollar companies that turn huge profits preying off of some of the least well-off, most vulnerable communities in our society. These are incredibly dangerous jobs. I saw a statistic one of my colleagues shared with me the other day that there was a ranking that working in the poultry industry is the third most dangerous job in America right now.
Wow.
In addition to just being, unsanitary, having to deal with the trauma of killing and processing millions of animals. These companies, they couldn't make it more explicit and clear that they have no real concern. And as Taylor, my colleague, said in the video, they see their employees essentially as disposable, much like the animals and the farmers and so on and so forth.
Here's a couple more stat charts that we have. This one, let's see. This just gives I think I copied, this is part of the first infographic that we looked at, but it just tells where the information comes from using news reports, company press releases, state data, and original reporting. We've keeping track of the coronavirus effect on the meat packing industry, including positive cases among workers and employee deaths. So that is also available. And then the last one just came out showing the difference, how much more prevalent it is at Tyson than the other plants, such as Purdue. But, one case is bad enough. So, one case can take out a whole city as it spreads through. Yeah. Yeah,
and especially the conditions in any of these plants, right, where the workers have to stand essentially shoulder to shoulder. The line speeds are incredibly fast. They're standing right next to each other, breathing heavily. It's essentially the worst conditions you can imagine in terms of spreading respiratory disease.
Yes, I'm just trying to see if we have any other comments here. There's people are asking, they want to see it later. Yes, it is available later. Someone said I have to get off, but this is so exciting and not exciting, interesting. I want to watch it later. The next thing I wanted to show was your press release. Let me grab that. I know I'm not supposed to do process, Jane says. And this is the second part. All right, so that's obviously the petition that people can go ahead and go check out and sign. We're asking people to sign that petition, and those links are there for you also to click on and see for yourself. The videos that we looked at, the stats, and also there's another, is there another petition?
So the kind of piece of digital activism I'm most excited about is the relaunch of what's called our Fast Action Network. So the way that the Humane League has run its kind of corporate pressure campaigns for the last decade have involved a lot of individual volunteers taking relatively quick but effective actions, things like reaching out to decision makers, making phone calls to individual branches of various businesses or business partners, filling out feedback forms, the kinds of things that by themselves may not do very much when you have thousands of people pitching in together in a really strategic and systematic way, have resulted in literally hundreds of corporate policies being pushed out over the years. So previously, a lot of this was just done in a very grassroots way, where we were sending out, our individual email alerts to our little groups of local volunteers. And then we built out something called the Fast Action Network, where we were sending out kind of automated emails with these quick actions a few times a week that became really successful and effective for our campaigns.
Wow.
And our tech team in the last few months have built out a new platform for the Fast Action Network that you can go to at fastactionnetwork.com. It's also available on our website under Take Action. And essentially what this does is you get to log in on this web platform, and you can select the different kinds of actions you want to take, like if you're comfortable making phone calls, if you only want to do virtual stuff.
So it's
perfect for COVID. And the way it works is it's going to track the number of campaigns you're working on and track the number of actions you're taking.
Are you kidding?
And give you a steady stream so that if you log in now, you'll see a bunch of actions against Tyson. So it'll say, sign and share this petition, fill out this feedback form, contact this decision maker. And it'll give you samples of the kinds of things you can write and say. It walks you through it step by step, and then you check off that you've done it, and it moves you on to the next task and keeps track of what you've accomplished. And over time, it learns the kinds of tasks that you like to take. It's incredibly effective. It's also the perfect tool right now for quarantine, when a lot of us might otherwise be out in the streets doing things like demonstrations or meeting with corporate executives and so forth. But right now, this is something that anyone, even if you've never done activism before, maybe you're a little afraid of it, you can sign up and take dozens of actions on these high impact campaigns. And our team of corporate campaign strategists, they spend all day thinking about what kind of little 5-minute actions are going to be most effective at moving the ball forward for animals. So this week, we're doing a lot of targeted work against Tyson, but that's going to evolve over time as we get new information, figure out what other levers we want to pull. The best thing you can do is sign up, get involved. You'll be getting email alerts about when there's new actions for you to take. So I really, if you're going to do any one action for animals this week, I would recommend sign up for the Fast Action Network.
Let's play a little video. All right, so that the URL fastactivismnetwork.org.
Fastactionnetwork.com.
It is fastactionnetwork.com.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the one to go to.
Yep. You can also, if you just go to our website at thehumaneleague.org and click on Take Action, you'll see you can click through to it there as well.
Okay, well, if Julia didn't get a chance to put those up, I will put them up as soon as we get off, because I know a lot of people. Folks, this is a great opportunity. And David, I think that you have set up a model that is probably going to become the model across all of the organizations. This could be like a worldwide thing that you're creating here. This is amazing.
Yes.
I mean, it's groundbreaking. Are you building a network of other organizations? Is that in the future, or what's the future plan with this amazing new thing you're starting here?
So we actually run a global coalition called the Open Wing Alliance that's historically focused on campaigns against the chicken industry and the egg industry, on battery cages, or on the treatment of broiler chickens around the world. We have nearly 100 member groups at this point from all corners of the world. And a big part of what we do at the Open Wing Alliance is give grants and give training to other organizations, typically a bit smaller than THL. Maybe we were at in size a few years ago, so we're able to give them some funding, and also importantly, give them a lot of training and tech skills and that kind of thing. And it's not just THL. There's a number of really savvy groups around the world, all sharing skills with each other, and that we're all learning from. So with tech tools like this platform, we're starting to transition those to the kind of global alliance as well. So we've been using a version of the Fast Action Network on these global campaigns for some time, and we've been hosting virtual trainings and webinars in other, campaign tactics and tech skills over the last few months during COVID. Normally we'd meet up in person for the trainings, but it's on us to think on our feet now.
And all someone has to do is go to this website. Say the website again. I'm sorry.
Fastactionnetwork.com.
Fastactionnetwork.com. Sign up and you will find all this. Like if I want to go, that's my one thing I have to do. Just go right there. Sign up and I'm set to go. It's so easy. And I can pick things I want to do. If I want to make phone calls, I can do that. If I want to write letters, I can do that. And I can track what I've done, the activism, the effectiveness of what I've done as an individual. Is that true?
That's exactly right. Yeah. So you'll know when
that is amazing.
We won our big corporate campaigns that you've pitched in on. You get to see progress. So often, let's say we win a corporate campaign, one of the actions might be to share the announcement with friends about the corporate campaign victory, or sometimes share the announcement with the corporate rivals of that company to help pressure them to do the right thing as well.
Yeah, and it is effective, and there's been a lot. Can you just off the top of your head think of, I know I'm putting you on the spot here, so it's okay if you can't think of it right quick, but some of the great stuff that's happened already from these kind of campaigns. Just anything come to your mind real quick?
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, for many years, the focus was on battery cages in the US and corporate campaigns, but in the last 3 years, we've been doing a lot of work on the broiler chicken meat industry. So companies like Tyson and Sanderson Farms and Purdue and so forth. So we've been targeting, up until COVID began, major restaurant chains and other food companies. And now, so we have something called the Better Chicken Commitment that a huge number of animal coalition groups have signed on to. And this addresses the breed of chicken raising killed for meat. And that's a big part of why birds suffer so much these days, is because they've been selectively bred over so many generations to go so large so quickly that, you know, they're slaughtered at just a little over a month old, but they can barely stand because their bodies have been so distorted by the selective breeding. So turning back the clock a little bit on some of those breeds, giving birds more space, ending the use of brutal live shackle slaughter, which is one of the major asks of the chicken producers we have right now that we're targeting. And a few other elements, including, you know, auditing and public commitments on this. We've now gotten, I think it's over 150 major companies to sign on to this, 180 companies to sign on to this commitment. And we're talking about Burger King, Starbucks, Sodexo, Compass Group, Aramark, all the major dining companies, you know, major players. And just I mean, a lot of these commitments won't be coming into play for a number of years, but we're already starting to see the impact in the transition here. And it was actually just announced in the last few weeks from Tyson Foods, who we've been talking about all night, because of some of the commitments of major players, including McDonald's, on slaughter systems, that Tyson Foods is now switching 4 of their plants away from brutal live shackle slaughter. So that's going to impact around 300 million birds every year, we estimate. Wow. To give you a sense of scale, that's about the entire laying flock of all the egg-laying hens in the entire country, who are not going to be, you know, grabbed by workers, turned upside down, slammed into metal shackles where often their legs break, dragged through the water bath, and then have their throat slit. So, you know, I think we're probably folks watching this, you and I are fighting for a world where there doesn't need to be mass chicken slaughter at all. But in the meantime, this is going to be a huge change for 300 million birds. And it's because of, frankly, just regular folks taking action online and helping us out. You know, we have corporate negotiators, we have our kind of media campaigns that we do, but we hear from companies that the most important thing to them is that they're hearing from the public, they're hearing from customers. And the only reason that we have power when we go in to negotiate with these companies is because we have the public on our side. But we can't just rest on our laurels there. We need to make sure that these companies, that these decision makers are hearing from the public. And that's where the Fast Action Network comes in. That's where the volunteers come in. It can't be seen as just a few crazy vegans, right?
Right. And that's, you know what, David, just for a second, I want to say there's a comment on here, and it applies to what you're saying right now. This person says, I have such a hard time dealing with the fact that people worldwide think mass killing of sentient beings is acceptable in a civilized world. We don't need this food. It's criminal. Now, there's a lot of people that feel that way, but they say, what can I do? I'm helpless. There's nothing I could do. And they deal with depression from this. It actually affects them. And then they'll say, well, I don't have money to donate. You don't have to have money. You can just give some of your time, and you can see how it is affecting and affecting change. That would make me feel good. I'm so excited about this. I can't tell you. This is just amazing. So go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it can grow exponentially. So
yeah, you know, I think anyone who cares a lot about factory farming and animal suffering, or frankly, anyone working on a major problem out there in the world, someone who's an advocate or has really committed themselves to a cause, it can be a real struggle to not burn out, to not lose hope. And especially when we're talking about something like factory farming and animal suffering, the reality is, compared to a lot of other issues, we're pretty far behind. We're just not taken as seriously in the realm of politics. Our movement is much smaller. It has fewer people and less money than a lot of the other causes out there that I'm sure you and I care about a lot. Yeah. And I've found, as someone who's been doing this professionally, so to speak, for a while, that really the only way to address those feelings of frustration or hopelessness or depression is to get involved. And it's really the only antidote for those feelings. And as soon as you start taking action, no matter how bad the situation is, you know you're contributing to making things better. I mean, the reality is the world is the way it is for animals right now. Yeah. So it's up to all of us to decide are we going to try and move the needle as much as we can while we're here? That's the best any of us can do. And we just need to kind of balance this kind of crazy belief that we can change the world with a really sober assessment of what the situation on the ground is, so that we can make the right strategic choices.
That's for sure. Well said. I have a couple of little clips about volunteering, and I think it's a good time to show them.
In order to end the abuse of animals raised for food, we need a people-powered movement, and the Humane League does an amazing job at bringing together communities, working with other organizations, and really building enthusiasm in the movement as a whole. And our volunteers really are our leaders in the communities, and the work that they do is what's going to help us accomplish our mission.
We couldn't do any of the work that we do for animals without the amazing volunteers and activists who we get to work with all around the world in their communities.
The Humane League's work is important because the abuse of animals raised for food is a global crisis, and there aren't many people who are working on this issue or working really strategically on this issue. We're really at the forefront of making real progress for animals.
The Humane League's work is so special to me because it is effective. I can feel what we are doing. I see it making a difference, and it feels really empowering to be a part of a team that is doing so much work to change lives.
For years, the Humane League has been identifying the most effective strategies to help animals, and now we're able to share those tactics globally.
The Humane League is special because of our effective approach and because we recognize the importance and the value of collaboration and working together to build our global movement and address this global issue with our Open Wing Alliance.
I love being a part of an organization that is helping billions of animals every single day across the globe.
Please consider supporting our work at the Humane League. Rigorous research shows that we have a real impact for animals suffering on factory farms.
The Humane League's donors are changing the world for animals.
Thank you for everything you do for the animals.
We're so grateful for your partnership.
This work wouldn't be possible without your support.
From all of us at the Humane League,
thank
you! Now, was that your team, the last shot there?
Yeah, it's a little bittersweet because we just had our all-staff retreat last week virtually, and that was from our in-person one the year before. So,
oh, I know how that feels.
It's all my friends and colleagues.
Yeah. Wow, that is, and I mean, volunteering is so effective. I think it's becoming more and more effective now. I think we have some new tools that are really going to move the movement forward. Like you said, we're a little behind other movements.
Yeah,
I think this is our time.
Well, I think a really important cultural shift that I think we need to have within the community of, animal people or vegans or whatever you want to call us.
Yes.
But I think for a long time, there's been a really big focus on, I would say, like lifestyle or consumer-based kind of identity, which makes sense, right? Because it's like the thing that binds a lot of us together besides caring about animals is, being vegetarian or being vegan. And that's kind of like our community hub is the restaurants and food fests and that kind of thing. But I think that we need to more and more develop this sense of political awareness as well with our people, that in addition to being vegan, that's good. That's like a great first step, or, wherever people are at on their journey there. But what's much more important is taking the next step to get involved, to start advocating for animals. And that's what animals really, really need from us, is to start building political power, to start shifting the behavior of some of these corporations. And if it's not the animal people who are speaking up, it's not going to be anybody. It's really on us to make that happen. And I think that's been a really great change that I've seen developing in the last few years. And I think, there's been both the growth of groups like the Humane League, or our friends at Animal Equality and Mercy for Animals and Animal International and all the other groups that do work like us, as well as a lot of the kind of grassroots organizations that have been sprouting up all around the world. This is a very positive sign of change, I think, that people are more and more understanding that we have a moral obligation to not just reduce the harm that we have on others in our personal lives, but also to get involved in advocacy.
That's right. I think you said it all right there. So, wow, this is really exciting. Again, we're getting near the end of our time. What would you like to ask people to do to get involved again? Would you just restate that? I know you said
sure.
people coming on. Let's just do a restatement of everything.
Absolutely. So if you're looking to get involved in animal advocacy while remaining socially distanced in an incredibly easy and convenient way, go to fastactionnetwork.com and sign up, and you'll be brought to a web-based platform. You can do this on your phone or on your computer, where you're able to take dozens of effective actions on our campaigns that are constantly updated, and where you're communicated the thoughts behind what's going on a very frequent basis. And you can check in, and it'll track everything you're doing. You can choose the kinds of actions you want to take. And it's a really, really easy, painless way to get involved in effective advocacy. So please sign up at fastactionnetwork.com.
And also you have a petition going right now that they can go and sign also. Do you know what the URL to that is? We have it on the link.
It'll be the first action that's requested of you when you sign in to Fast Action Network.
Perfect. So just go sign up, and then you can also do that. I was almost going to say a terrible thing, but I'm not going to. But I caught myself. Speciesism, old saying. Anyway, never mind. So I'm a little embarrassed. But yes, David, thank you so much. I hope you'll come on again. Give us an update on
anytime
how this is working, and you will see me. So people, Paige is saying, thanks, David. Fastactionnetwork.com page, put that up as well. So we have a lot of links, folks, in there. If you haven't seen the full broadcast, go back and watch. Start a watch party. Spread this. Share the word. We really need you to share the video. Get this out. We as activists can do so much from our home, from our desk, without even going out into the COVID virus kind of environment out there. We can do it from the safety of our home. And why wouldn't you for the animals? Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for coming on, and we'd love to have you on again, David.
Thanks for having me, Lindsay. Talk to you later.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.